Hi everyone, my name is Dr. Sam Monroe and I am one of the organizers for the very first Soapbox Science Adelaide event this year held at Science Alive at the Adelaide Showgrounds. In just a few minutes, hundreds of high school students from all across the city are going to be coming into this theater to hear some of our amazing speakers. They're going to be talking about all sorts of crazy topics like making beverages for astronauts and edible insects. We're really excited. Let's go get started.
I do something called CRISPR therapeutics. All that means is that I use genome editing to try and cure disease. So there's this eye disease. It's got a long, complicated name. It's called autosomal dominant retinitis pigmentosa, which takes a long time to say. So I'm not going to say it again. Basically what happens in this disease is some of the cells in your eye, they start to die because of an error that is in the DNA, okay? And so these people, it's like they're looking through like a straw because their vision goes in until you can't see anymore, and then eventually it goes away. There's no cure, there's no treatment. It's really bad, right? But it's a problem in the DNA. And so what I am trying to do is I'm trying to use CRISPR genome editing to cut out that problem. So I'm going to put genome editing into a patient's eye, and I'm going to try and use my little molecular scissors to snip out the problem and stop them from going blind, which I think is pretty cool. Yeah, question?
Have you guys know about rabbits in Australia? So rabbits aren't naturally found in Australia, but humans introduced them to Australia and now they're a big problem. This fly is a huge problem because what it does is it can drink up to half of the blood of a baby bird in just one night. Imagine losing half your blood in one night. That's a lot. And that happens to you every single night.
This is Dr. Margaret Shanafield. She is the lead organizer for Soapbox Science Adelaide. How's it all going so far?
Oh, I'm just so excited we're here. This is such a great event, lots of energy, and it's so nice to bring this to Adelaide.
Margaret, you are the one that pulled us all together. You pulled the organizing committee together. This was your idea to do this. What made you want to host this event?
I've wanted to do this for a couple of years now. I've followed it on social media and just seen what a great event it is, how nice it is to bring science to the community. I mean, that's what it's all about, right? Is getting what we do out there so it can be implemented, become part of society, so that we value science in society.
Oh my gosh, Natasha, you just did your very first Soapbox Science Adelaide event. Tell me, how was it?
Oh my gosh, it was so exciting. I was a little bit nervous at first, but actually when you get in front of all the kids and they're really interested about your science and learning and asking questions about everything that you do, the nerves go out the window. So it was really great to actually see them and be able to interact with people who are as interested in the science as I am.
So I have to ask, you've got a pretty fabulous costume going on. Can you tell me what this costume is all about?
Yes, absolutely. So essentially, I love stories and I love science. And I love talking about science as stories, because to me, being able to understand science is actually being able to understand the world that we live in and how we interact with it and learn things from it and understand our place in the world. So one of the taglines that I use for that is, context is king. And I treat the science that we know and love as the context for the stories of the world that we live in.
Absolutely fantastic. Well, we've got a lot of time left for today, so you're going to be talking to a lot more kids about context. It's going to be really good.
I'm so excited for it. Thank you so much.
So I'm doing research on food in space, right? And I don't know if you know, but NASA is planning their first manned mission to Mars, and we're speaking about a space travel of 3 to 5 years, right? So currently astronauts are only about 6 months in space, which is kind of a short period compared to 3 to 6 years, right? So we need to have special foods for the astronauts. We want to offer the astronauts a range of different foods. Reliable, because if our foods fail, like for example mold, we don't have any foods for the astronauts anymore, and that is really dangerous.
Okay, we are halfway through today's Soapbox Science Adelaide event, and I am here with Dr. Yi-Lian Chu, who's also one of the organizers for today's crazy event. How's it going so far?
Sam, it has been absolutely amazing. The energy is really so high. We've had hundreds of kids.
I know, it's crazy.
Hundreds of kids come and talk to us, and they're interested in so many different things. They might not have thought about a career in science,
well, what science looks like and what scientists look like, but I think they have come away knowing a bit more, and not just about one field, but about many different scientific disciplines.
Absolutely. What do you think their reactions have been like today? A lot of enthusiasm?
Yeah, I think it's a combination of many different things. Some of them are curious. Some of them are a bit grossed out when we talk about would you like to eat an insect?
Yeah.
But some of them are like, wow, I never knew that before, and they're like, I'm gonna be a food scientist, and that's just amazing.
So talk a bit about weeds, yeah? So they're like crop invaders. So they're like unwanted plants that grow called weeds, and you can probably find them in your backyard, right? They're really annoying. So what they do is they take over all the crops that farmers are growing. And usually we have a solution to these crop invaders. Have you seen one of these bottles before? They're like herbicides. Have you seen your parents spray their backyard with these before? So what we usually do is spray the weeds with these herbicides, and they usually die. But what's happening is our weeds are very clever, and they have found ways to stop these herbicides from working. So even when you think they are dead, they come back to life like zombies. You've seen zombie movies before, right? They die and come back to life. So what my work does is was trying to understand why weeds are so clever. So how are they finding ways to stop these herbicides from working? So we want to find ways to kill weeds off for good.
Even though you know that they're good for you and good for the planet, you have an emotional response that's felt as disgust, and our emotional responses are really hard to overcome, which is essentially why you're feeling this way. So my job as a food scientist is to understand, well, how can I try and help you eat them in food? Maybe I could combine them with different flavors. I could, for example, crush them up into a powder so that you can't see them in a food. How would you feel about that?
Wow, Ishka, you just finished your very first Soapbox Science Adelaide event. How did it go?
It was great. I absolutely loved it. I was definitely a little bit nervous to get started, just wondering whether people would actually come and have a chat, but they did, and I had some fantastic questions. I even had one kid that walked away and told me that he was going to be a food scientist and meet me at the top. So that was good, I think, for both of us.
That was absolutely fantastic. What did the kids think about eating bugs?
So it was fantastic because we actually took them through and looked at how they felt at the start and then how they felt at the end. So there were some that were very uncomfortable at the start, others that were ready to eat insects. But what we saw is actually we took them through the process of sensory science and how that might help them become more comfortable with eating insects. And then actually saw them, as the talk went on, go from uncomfortable to ready to eat insects. So it was great for them to understand not only that insects are, tasty, but also that there are ways in which we can make them feel more comfortable about trying them.
Woohoo! And that's a wrap on Soapbox Science 2022. It was a blast. We talked to hundreds of students. Well, our awesome speakers talked to hundreds and hundreds of students, and it got them really excited about science, so we'll call that a win.
Absolutely, and if you are interested in participating in our next event, all you have to do is go to our website or follow us on Twitter, give us a shout, apply to participate, and it's going to be a lot of fun.
And thanks to all of our sponsors.
We couldn't have done it without you.
Yay, Soapbox Science!
Woo!